Joining us now, Sherilyn Harley Laban is a lawyer, former senior counsel with the U.S. Senate Judiciary Committee, contributing fellow for the National Center for Policy Analysis. Brian Claypool, civil rights attorney. All right, so what's your reaction, Brian, to those comments?
Well, Sean, I think Hillary Clinton is right on. Roe versus Wade says that during the first trimester of a woman's pregnancy, she can have an abortion. So
but that wasn't the question.
Think about it.
That wasn't the question. So listen, let me ask a question.
During that first trimester, the child has no
rights.
Constitutional rights.
That's what the law says. So on the 90th day, the child has no rights. On the 91st day, the child has rights.
Right. Well, but Hillary Clinton says in the same breath that
you didn't answer my question. Do you not see how asinine that is?
Well, no, it really isn't, Sean. Because if you think about it, even minors that are actually born. They're not in the woman's womb anymore. They're born. They don't even have any constitutional rights to even sue in a civil court unless they have a guardian ad litem appointed and approved by a court. So our court systems even recognize that even minors who are born don't really even have a constitutional right to sue. They have to have a parent or a guardian sue on their behalf. So I think this is consistent with our laws. And she didn't say there wouldn't be any medical care for the parent or the child.
What is your take on this, Sherilyn?
Well, my take on this is that here was her opportunity to do a dog whistle to her base, but the base isn't very happy. Planned Parenthood in Illinois says, she calls a fetus an unborn child. And again, Sean and Brian, that is not what the left likes to acknowledge. So by doing this, she is saying she's describing an unborn child as a person, which for the left, if you acknowledge personhood, then the unborn has every constitutional right. So I see it completely different. This was her chance to do a dog whistle, and she screwed it up.
Sean, why doesn't Roe versus Wade then spell this out? We have a law on the books. I mean, Hillary Clinton.
Roe versus Wade has always been about judicial activism. It's always been bad law. And medical science, I think, medical science continues to shift and change the viability time of a fetus inside of a woman. And I would not be at all surprised if some women are only a month pregnant at some future date that baby would be able to survive outside the mother's womb.
Yeah, that's medical advances. I mean, absolutely.
What do you do at that point, Brian?
Well, here's my response to that. How can a fetus who doesn't even have a brain developed yet have a constitutional right? Because they're not even cognizant yet. So I think that's an issue that needs to be considered
because either what's growing inside the woman is of value, and it's a human being that is in utero and needs some protection. In other words, the most vulnerable amongst us. And the question is, everything is about choices in life. I don't really care what people do. You want to have sex? Swinging from a chandelier with 50 different people on any given night, go at it. I'm fairly libertarian. You have at it. You go do what you think. Go enjoy yourself. But also free societies depend on an issue called responsibility. In other words, if you don't want to get pregnant, we know how to prevent that.
Well, Sean, here's what I find so interesting about this is, once again, she's opened up the door to this can of worms, and now she's walking it back. But again, here's a great example of a candidate that's rarely tested, right? She rarely does these interviews, and when she does, this is the sort of thing that happens. Just imagine what's going to happen in the general when you have Hillary Clinton versus Donald Trump. I mean, these sorts of things, I think, is something we can anticipate seeing often.
Do you really think the comment made by Hillary Clinton is worse than the comment made by Donald Trump? Do you really think so? The comment he made that if abortion was illegal,
I think the Trump question was Trump question was an idiotic, hypothetical that he shouldn't have answered in the first place. But that's putting things aside. I think most Americans, while they might tolerate abortion, most Americans do find it somewhat repugnant.
but Sean, I think what you guys are trying to do is you're trying to make lemonade,
especially late-term abortion.
Well, I mean, late-term abortion, I might agree with you a bit on that, but at the end of the day, you guys are trying to make lemonade out of lime because the law. Hillary Clinton has recitated a position that is consistent with a law that's been promulgated. All right,
but the bottom line for you is, should a woman? Your bottom line is the government shouldn't have. Tell a woman what she can and cannot do with her body, period. Is that your position?
Well, yes, except in later term abortion. Correct.
Well, wait a second. Wait a minute. So the government should tell a woman what she can and cannot do with her body.
No, the Roe versus Wade says a woman has a right to choose on an abortion. So
okay, but you're not following me. The argument of everybody that says they're pro-choice is that the government has no right to tell a woman what she can or cannot do with her body. And I'm asking you, do you agree with that? And you said yes, to a point. So the fact is you do want the government to be able to tell a woman she cannot have an abortion.
No, I disagree. No, let me rephrase it.
Okay, so the government should. All right, well, try and answer the question. Should the government be able to tell a woman?
Right. The government should not. The woman should be able to make her choice on whether she wants to have an abortion
and
or
it
not.
Should only be her choice, and the government should have no say.
Well, the government should have no say, except if there's some kind of medical issue, or later on, like if we're talking about a rape.
Okay, but now let's put the exceptions to the side for a minute because it complicates things. In general, though, your position is the government should never tell a woman what she can and cannot do with her body as it relates to abortion. It's a simple question.
I agree with that, yes. Yeah.
Okay, so let's say a woman is 8 months and 3 weeks pregnant. Should that woman be allowed to get an abortion, even though it's a viable baby inside her?
But that's what I was trying to say earlier about later term pregnancy.
Okay, but you can't. But so the bottom line is you do believe that the government should tell a woman she can't have a late term abortion.
Yes, exactly.
Now you just contradicted what you just said. So now I'm trying to get this out of you. All right, so a government should be able to tell a woman she can't have an abortion at 8 months, 7 months, 6 months?
Well, I think later term. I think if you're talking 8 months.
No, follow me.
Right.
Should the government at 6 months be able to tell a woman no?
I mean, I think it depends on the situation.
5 months?
Depends.
5 months?
No, 5. No, I think the woman would have a right to choose at 5 months.
The right to choose.
You're getting into when is a child viable?
No,
medical issues.
But at 5 months, this is the bizarre thing. In some hospitals, you get a preemie baby, and I've been in these preemie wards where these infants are so tiny, like that, the size of my hand, for crying out loud. And yes, I have big hands now that it's an issue in the campaign. I'm just joking, but seriously, it's the size of my hand. It's the size of my hand. And they can save that baby's life. And as medical science continues to develop and advance,
yes,
we can save these kids at 5 months. And you're willing to just say the government has the right. You're willing to say that a woman has the right to just terminate that life.
Right. You have to, Sean. You have to weigh. Whether
the baby.
Hear me out. Whether a 4 or 5 month old fetus has more constitutional rights than an adult woman. That's really how I look at it. It's a balancing act.
But isn't this about choice? Here's my question. In other words, don't human beings have to have some responsibility for their behavior? For example, aren't there a lot of choices made? For example, you get in the back seat with this really cute blonde, and you decide that you're going to start making out with the blonde, right? That's a choice you're making, I'm assuming, right? Both of you are making?
Right.
All right, and then you decide to take one article of clothing off after another.
Let's go along with
Can I finish? So you take one article of clothing off, she takes one. Those are all choices. Then you both get naked. That's a choice. Then you both decide not to use birth control. That's a choice. Then as a result of your behavior, a pregnancy results. Didn't you have a lot of choices leading up to that moment?
Yeah, you have a lot of choices, okay? But here's what you're not looking at, Sean. A lot of people might make bad choices during those moments, and they want to rectify the bad choices they make before they bring in a child
at the expense of
and they
a
can't
fetus.
Take care of the child.
Well, there's plenty of adoption services that would happen. Sherilyn, what's your answer to that?
Exactly. Well, back to Hillary Clinton and her situation. Again, she, in her comments, she opened up this door. And she did say, she's describing a person or a child. And once you do that, she's opened up the door to acknowledge personhood. And that, again, has definitely put her across hairs with her position with the right, but her base is very upset with her. So, again, there she is flip-flopping, and we're pretty consistent on the right with how we feel about abortion. But she is not taking care of her base, and that's something as a presidential candidate, she's going to need to come down on one side or the other, Sean.
Yeah.
Hey,
all right,
Sean,
let me go to another issue here.
Isn't that equally a bad question? The question they asked Hillary Clinton, isn't that equally bad? Does a 3-month-old fetus have constitutional rights? The only difference is that's far more realistic than Chris Matthews' hypothetical, which says,
exactly.
Now if the law was this, okay, that's just far fetched. This is actually what the law is.
Right. This is what the law is.
Yeah. All right. Let me ask the question about. So the White House omitted Islamic terrorism in a video of Francois Hollande, the president of France. Now my question is doesn't it strike you as very odd this president's mysterious reluctance, resistance to just acknowledge a simple truth in our time that we live in, that radical Islamic terrorism is real?
Sean, this has been a consistent pattern with this administration for the past 7 years. Back in with the fellow in Fort Hood, workplace violence. The hesitancy in San Bernardino, again, everything else but, and then the FBI is the one that came out first and said this is
what
terrorism.
about Sandy Hook?
Now,
Sandy Hook was that a Muslim?
Seemingly, the Europeans have no problems calling a spade a spade. The Belgian fellow said this is terrorism. Hollande did before, in the previous, the terrorist attack in the restaurant, called it right away, straight away, called it terrorism. For some reason, our president is reluctant to acknowledge that we have terrorism, not only in this country, but terrorism in other parts of the world. I don't know what that is, but let's hope the next administration does not have that type of reluctance, because it is a denial which will hurt our country and will harm our citizens and therefore put us all at peril, really. This reluctance to acknowledge and say.
All right, I've got to let this go.
Can I ask you guys a question?
No, I got to go.